Yeah.
It's Wednesday, late March, Las Vegas, Nevada, record-breaking heat.
I'm already sweating.
I can smell you.
Smell you later, bro.
It's been a busy week of activity for us.
Yeah.
So we were away last week on location in Shenanigans and McMullan's. That was a fun one.
Shenanigans.
I'm not going to mention the number, but it was our highest download as of yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Brian McMullan pulling the weight. I was a bit, just got to say this. I just really wanted to discuss his early life more. It was more focused on McMullan's, and I really wanted to talk. Did you know, a fun fact, Brian McMullan closed the Playboy Club in London, worked there for many years, met his first wife there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Not that we're talking about his body count, if you will.
His matrimonies.
Yeah. Yeah. And, worked down in the South in some casinos, worked in casinos in London. So, I'd like to, he's the inspiration for Peaky Blinders, if you will.
There you go. Yeah, that was a definite fun fact. We're going to run through several categories. I mean, when you said you want to do this today, I was like, yeah, we have a lot to, and then I start writing it. I'm like, yeah, we actually have a lot to talk about. So
there's always a lot to talk about, especially with me, because my mouth runneth over with information.
We're going to talk about the Bar and Restaurant Expo currently going on. We're going to talk about John Taffer, meeting him. We're going to talk about Allegiant Stadium, some numbers. We're going to talk about the Jameson Triple Dive Bar that we participated in yesterday. Thank you, Raul. Patty's Day wrap up. We're going to talk about insurance, car rates. St. Baldrick's coming forward, and we're going to talk about Brian Wolf and his contribution in the beer culture here and his fight against stage 4 cancer. We're going to talk some March Madness numbers because it's still going on. We're going down to Sweet 16. We're going to wrap it up with is analog nouveau, and why we're going to call this episode 37. Is it analog or a stick in the butt? Or if we did our best Celebrity Jeopardy, is it anal log?
It sounds like a log is stick in your butt.
If you can't have play on words, then why even show up?
Chopping that wood right off.
We'll be right back with the main episode.
Spot where the good times flow. Chris and Darren behind the bar, putting on a show in Vegas where the sun shines bright and the stories unfold. Grab a pipe, pull up a chair, let the good times roll. Sip, socialize, shine, that's the motto we live by. From the strip to downtown, beneath the desert sky. Walls tell tales, bars tell lies, but here we speak the truth for the Vegas.
And we're back, DB.
So what do we got here, Chris? Let's get our drink on.
You know what? I just stopped at the local liquor store because you have everything in your fridge. So cold, refreshing Bitburger.
I'm more of a, like a 2 fingers of whiskey when I get home at night, as opposed to
but we're day drinkers.
A beer.
But we're day drinkers.
Yes, right now. So.
Yeah. And this is Natural Light.
Natural Light, yes. Bitburger, Natural Light.
Yeah, I meant Natural Light outside. It's not just coined in or canned in. And then we also went on a little mission Saturday where we met John Taffer. Cheers. Prost.
Yep.
Bitte ein Bit. And we're going to sip on a little of his brown butter bourbon that he was out promoting in the northwest section of Las Vegas.
Yeah, and we accosted him. We waited in line. We're staring at him like, yo, bro, you want to do this podcast.
People were like, what were the pitch? I was like, 88 miles per hour.
I like that. Back to the Future reference.
Yeah.
He was very, he was quite nice, and like I thought, and I know people that have met him and said he's kind of a douche, but that being said, he was very nice to us.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that meet us that think we're
douches.
Like
I've met a lot of celebrities and, like context is everything. Sometimes, they're just overwhelmed and they just kind of don't want to be in that situation. I've met, like an interesting story I could tell more. I'll tell another day, but LeVar Burton, I've met him multiple times. Great guy in a certain context, but I've also seen him be fucking rude.
Yes.
Yeah, which is crazy, but because he seems like, he's a super nice guy. So anyway.
So I did one of the bar briefings last week, and I mentioned that Taffer's showing back up in my algorithm on YouTube. So he was out there with Bro Bible speaking about some stuff. We talked to him about potentially being on the podcast.
How's the Bro Bible?
It's a guy.
So like the instead of the King James version, it's like Yo Bro version.
Yeah. The book of Leviticus what? So,
Leviticus what?
No, it's a gentleman how he brands himself on YouTube. But he showed up and he did Taffer did a 30-minute interview with him. So he's out there promoting pretty heavily. I mean, he's still involved with the Bar and Restaurant Expo, which we're going to talk about in a second. But when we met him, he was schlepping his brown butter bourbon, which is a sweet whiskey,
Very sweet.
if you will. So good for an after dinner aperitif, if you will, maybe on the rocks or over some vanilla bean ice cream, because it wouldn't be bean if it wasn't vanilla.
I've made it with cold brew and cold foam. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So he's out promoting his brown butter bourbon. He's out promoting Taffer Taverns, which is our franchisees. There's a few in the country.
I could see this being an Irish coffee, like not an Irish coffee. What could you name like a coffee with whiskey instead of an Irish coffee? Like a brown butter cold brew.
A Taffaroo coffee too.
Taffaroo too.
You can't with me,
Chris. Just no.
No. And he's also promoting a POS system for restaurants from Ship
I'll
4
tell the
called
dad jokes
SkyTap.
here
Okay,
from now
all
on.
right.
Okay. Jesus.
Or we can get Andrew in on the lifeline.
You're a dog dad. You're a dog dad. I guess that'll work.
That's right. So that was John Taffer last Saturday up at Lee's in what were we on? Tropical? Where were we at? Asia.
I had a topical on because I had a sore, but
Yeah.
tropical as your all the way over in Centennial.
Yeah, we're jumping around here, but the Bar and Nightclub or restaurant, it used to be the Bar and Nightclub. The Bar and Restaurant Expo wraps up today, but some of the talking
Isn't it
points.
sharing space with the Pizza Expo, or is that a different spot? Because I know the Pizza Expo's here too.
I'm not sure, but you want a dad joke on that one?
No.
Please?
Okay.
You know what the pizza guys do?
What?
They make a lot of dough.
Pizza does make a lot of money. You're talking that the dough itself is like pennies, and the toppings are a couple dollars.
Sure. Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. So some of the talking points from this year's Bar and Restaurant Expo: non-alcoholic and beverage innovation are still hot. Operators are hunting for more labor saving and efficiency tech. Of course, they will always be. Experience is a major buzzword, not just food and drink. Branding and social presence are getting treated like operating essentials.
Okay.
And then real life networking still matters a lot in hospitality, of which was kind of what we did last
100%.
night, right?
So going to the like on those notes, like the hospitality part and the branding part, like didn't that VHS thing just open at Parkway Tavern?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
We should
so
go
that's
check
like
that out.
new experiences, people trying to get people into bars, and that's one.
Yeah,
I heard it sold out though.
did it? Well, it's a pop up.
Yeah.
So we talked about that on the pod a couple of weeks ago, the Parkway on West Flamingo, I believe.
Yeah, we should check it out.
And so where all the drinks are themed after like the VHS era.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Seemingly pretty cool.
So I'm gonna say we're gonna see more of that going on. The funny part, like for me, is that I worked with CBS briefly back in the early 2000s, and I was gonna do pop up bars with them at conventions, like a Star Trek themed bar,
Yeah.
and put it in existing locations, kind of like a la Spirit Halloween, just for the event, and then move it out. And unfortunately, it didn't end up working out. But I see that trend moving forward. 15 years later,
I think it's kind of a disservice in this
20 years later.
in this community that when I look at some of my friends' stuff on Facebook and some of the bars in Kansas City and other spots in the country, that unfortunately so many of these neighborhood bars that are, they're essential, like, driving devices, gaming, that we deny ourselves some like true opportunities out here for some unique texture, if you will, in these events where it seems like almost every day I look at something on Facebook, I'm like, wow, that looks like a really cool bar,
Well, like we had texture last night, and we'll go into more into detail about that. We should be wearing those shirts, by the way. They're very cool.
Yeah, we should be. We have a bag full of swag.
Bag of swag.
Maybe that should have been the episode name.
Well, maybe we'll do another add-on to it where we show off our stuff.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, look at these bars that are in Chicago or Kansas City or New York or Seattle. And I'm like, these neighborhoods where, you have to create that experience to draw guests in or patrons, week in and week out. And it's not just, unfortunately like, oh, here's $10 in free play. And that's the mechanism that drives the beast,
Well, as our culture evolves, it becomes more flavorful. You add more layers to it. And it just kind of increases the amount of
And that's why we're recording this. We're drinking bourbon and beer. It's just more layers.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're at it here, you got some new specs.
Yeah, it's funny. I just literally it made a noise in my ears, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I forgot that I got the new Ray-Ban Meta things, but it's funny. Like there's a backlash to them now. People just are starting to record people, and they're trying to hack them so the light doesn't come on. And they're posting stuff with interactions with people. They're coming up to people and they're intentionally leading them on and recording them without their knowledge. I would never do that because I don't think it's wrong. I just got them because I like the fact that I don't have to have earbuds in.
Yeah.
So like when I'm walking around the neighborhood, I can hear, what's going on around me.
You want to role play? Let's role play. I'll walk up to you and try and buy a beer at the bar at the airport. Are you recording me or are they recording us? So.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going today?
I can see. What's up?
Hey, I want to get a cold Michelob Ultra. How much is that?
$12 now.
Go fuck yourself. Are you recording me, asshole? No.
See, then that's what the problem is. Like, I probably won't be wearing them at work just because I don't think.
Well, I'm sure that the policy and procedures will change, and there's like just like how you can't wear earbuds at work, you can't wear your meta glasses.
Yeah.
Even though that they are prescription.
Like there's like some crazy like Black Mirror stuff going on. Like, can you imagine once these things get more popular and they have screens in them? You can have these cameras pointing at people, and they can tell you like. With AI, they'll be able to tell you when your like irises constrict, and they'll be able to tell you if they're lying, without even, it's insane. But hey, whatever.
Buckle up, folks. We're going for a ride.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere either. The surveillance is here. It's everywhere.
So
Isn't it like in London, they say you can't go 30 feet without being on a camera?
I would imagine less. I would imagine New York too.
Everywhere. Yeah. Anyway.
Last week, we obviously had a great interview with Mr. McMullan, where it was the day after St. Patrick's Day. We're now 8 days removed from St. Patrick's Day, and then that's passed. That was a good time, but St. Baldrick's is coming up. Any thoughts on past, present, future too?
For St. Patrick's Day?
Too much drinking, too much time?
Yeah.
Give me another Guinness one more time.
So like it's in the rearview mirror. I don't look too far forward because that's just, I don't own a business and I just go to work every day.
I was talking to my union rep this morning via email, and I kind of brought up St. Baldrick. She's like, I've always wanted to do it. I was like, well, you don't have to shave your head,
Just raise money for the kids.
Yeah, just for the kids. And I said, I can get you in contact with somebody. And she's like, well, it's too late this year. I go, it's never too late.
Yeah, never.
But I said, you can kind of form a team for the culinary office,
Now, don't just go in there for a haircut. Like, you got to raise some money. Like Brian and they prefer that you raise at least $100, for the cause.
And I've said this before in the podcast, and I still think it will be monumental. Is like, if you wanted to be a little more risque and very Vegas, I've always said they should do like the traditional St. Baldrick's, but then after hours, like after 10 p.m., call it like St. Baldrick's, the naughty bits.
Yeah,
and
the naughty bits.
And shave the nether regions and just get like, you want to talk about like,
I don't think that we need that. I don't think we need that at all.
Why? When you have like strip mall services like Blanco Derriere and all that, it's not like it's out there, So.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
You would have some influencers in there, and it's just like,
Hey, Cassie, you want to do more taints? Start a charity. Not that she'll hear this, but maybe she will now.
Oh, Jesus.
Taints for what could it be? What could we call it? Taints for I don't even know. Let's just move on.
Ain't nobody humping around. All right. Boy, oh boy. Where is this?
Hey, you started it.
Where is this podcast?
You know what? This pairs very nicely. The sweetness and the brown butter and the caramelness of this pairs nicely with.
Why are we sweating? So anyway, last night we were working on capturing a lot of B-roll and some live streams and some TikToks and everything. We were invited by Raul, who is the Pernod Ricard rep, also the Jameson rep here in Las Vegas, for the Jameson Triple Dive Bar Tour, which started at 4:30 yesterday. Want to walk me through some of that?
Well, I don't know if can I discuss everything?
Why wouldn't you?
Well, we started at
Double Down.
Mm-hmm. And we imbibed in the ass juice, of course.
Yes.
If you've never had ass juice, it's kind of just like a fruit punch, like schnappy thing, like ass juice is supposed to be like
very purple hootery.
So those that don't know, it's like ass juice is supposed to be like whatever falls into the drip tray, you're supposed to like dump it out into a glass and you're supposed to drink that. That's what the real ass juice is, but this is just a shot that they make.
It's more marketing, more ominous sounding, It's $5 one or two for $11. They have all their little marketing ploys in there. It's fun.
It's very divey, very
great jukebox.
Very, very dirty.
Yeah.
Very walls covered. I took a wonderful picture of a was like a Polaroid shot. You can come down, just don't come in front of the cameras. It was a picture of a girl in a thong that they took in the photo booth.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious.
I was taking pictures of the jukebox, which is one of the best in the city.
Yeah.
So I would say the jukebox there. Obviously, we played the jukebox at Frankie's later. We did not make it to, what's it called? The Griffin, which I think has another great jukebox in town.
Yeah. Atomic has a really cool, like old school record.
Okay.
I don't think it was working there. Anyway, so Double Down. Then we went on to
Starboard Tack.
Starboard Tack, which is one of the oldest bars in town. Opened the year that I was born, I believe, in 1972.
Yep.
I love that bar. It's got some cool. It's a rum bar. It's not a tiki bar. It's a rum bar. They have some classic rum cocktails. Got great menu. Like if you're ever on the east side, they actually have good food. Very like not as common on the east side. Have a good solid menu. It's changing now. You got places like Jive Turkey and Red Dwarf and
Yes.
of course Starboard Tack that have pretty good menus, solid menus.
This whole event was put together by Royal, who's the rep. It wasn't necessarily a Jameson's bartender ball, which they've had in the past. This is more so like a ingratiating thank you to the bartenders in town for their work that was done last week on St. Patrick's Day, because obviously St. Patrick's Day is a monumental day for not only just Irish pubs, but most bars and restaurants across the country. So it was a thank you. It included a great swag. It had a tiki bar or tiki mug component at Frankie's. There was like buffet style tacos at Starboard Tack, and we ended the night at Hard Hat with a smash burger. So to kind of not just fully imbibe yourself, of which was done by many. And
if you're on the Facebook group, I posted pictures of the night as it progressed, and as the night progressed, I posted less pictures of people because I didn't want to show them in compromising positions. But the final picture is like a 3/4 eaten cheeseburger, and I was like, what did I say? David Hasselhoff was disappointed.
Yes. There were a couple doozies in the group last night for sure.
Yeah, we won't mention any names.
Yeah, but I will say that our dear friend Stephen Rafferty, when we were outside shooting some exterior shots at Starboard Tack, was quite happy with himself because unknowingly he took a picture and caught a landing plane that was an Aer Lingus plane coming in on final descent, and he was so happy that it was an Irish-based
carrier.
Aer Lingus.
Funny.
Oh, brilliant, Aer Lingus. Oh, so.
Good old Raffo.
But to summarize, first, Double Down, second, Starboard Tack, third, Frankie's, fourth, Atomic, finally wrapping up at Hard Hat. It started at 4:30 and went till about 10:30, 11.
Yep.
He did a great job organizing it. I think everyone on there had a fun time.
I thought it's fantastic that, we celebrate Labor Day every year for the laborers. You get the day off. Nobody that actually labors gets the day off on Labor Day. They are the ones that work. It's all the people that don't actually do any work, like the bankers and like lawyers and people that, okay, I'm going to catch some shade here for that. But like, you don't physically like use your hands to work. You know what I mean? You're
right.
Like, that's what I mean by labor. So don't get your panties in an uproar, people.
Yes. So that was great. That wrapped up. If we're kind of like a little scatterbrained today, it's because, we probably went over the legal limit, but that's why we took Ubers and rideshare. And then had us like shuttle buses.
It's okay to cut loose every once in a while.
Yeah. So the Jameson Orange Mai Tai at Starboard Tack was quite tasty.
Yeah.
And part of the promotion too was like Frankie has their curated, what do they have, 5 or 6 tiki mugs there? 7?
They have 8.
8?
I believe.
Make it great with 8. And so we could get a Jameson inspired cocktail in one of those, and then the collectible mug that we took home, of which, DB here has this one from Red Dwarf. Yep. And then, a couple of the tiki bars in town have done that. And then we talked about in the previous episode where you've been to Viking Mats. Is that what it's called?
Viking Mike's.
Mike's. Why do I say Matt?
I don't know. Viking Mats sounds like a really bad gas station.
Yeah, it does.
Viking Mats.
But they have their own kind of like not tiki-esque bar, but like custom glassware, if you will. Mm-hmm. But it was a good night for all, and I'm sure there's.
Yes, thank you, Raul. Thank you for letting the laborers cut loose for a night.
Now, in that same night, it was also a night I deviated from the group for a moment with Survey, and we headed over to Silver Stamp to where they were doing a benefit for like local beer impresario Brian Wolf, who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in December, and they were doing a benefit for him at the Silver Stamp last night. Mm-hmm. So they had selected beers. They had a raffle. It was very nice. The community showed up and supported him. We got to see him and visit with his wife, Katie. And then obviously we drank beers that 100% of the beers sold on that list went to help pay him with his his health expenses, because
How
that's
much
stuff.
did you? How many beers did you buy, Chris?
I only had one beer there because we were rejoining group, but I just went over to the raffle and I just gave her like $40-$50 and said, I don't even want the raffle tickets, just, for him. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
but I think if you go to their socials, they still have a QR code live to help, it's obviously a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
He does have healthcare with, beer zombies, but of course, costs far out exceed.
Well, yeah, you have like a $25,000 copay per year or whatever.
Yeah. But,
Maximum like 300,000. You go over that, and then you don't get.
I've known Brian from his days at Paradise Cantina when I first arrived. And then he moved on to the original Tenaya Creek up by Mountain View Hospital back in the day, and then kind of transitioned over to when they moved into the new tasting room production facility down on Bonanza a handful of years ago now. So the community was out, and it was nice to see him and catch up. And as of last week, he was still working, but he started treatment again today, I believe. So he's probably going to be out for a little bit.
It's a damn shame. This richest country in the world, and we let people,
It is.
deal with, go bankrupt just for having a health issue.
Yeah.
It's insane. We're literally the only country that's in the first world countries that does that, which is insane to me, but whatever.
Right. I believe
I mean, how many of these events have you been to in Las Vegas where these bartenders that we've worked with, don't have insurance, and they get something horrible happens? It's been way too many.
Too many. And we all know, Father Time is undefeated, and not probably are there's more days behind me than there's ahead of me, but you got to keep fighting. So
yeah,
show up and support. And then a subsequent thing, what's been popping up in my feed too is what's his name? Tommy Rocker is got debilitating, I think, Parkinson's. So there's a lot of people that are circling around him because he's in hospice now, and they've been doing a couple events over at his place the last couple of years.
Oh, really?
His day to day. I mean, Tommy Rocker for a generation in Las Vegas.
That was the place.
Did a lot of stuff, a lot of live music, a lot
Before
of
the east side, well, the west side kind of blew up, like the southwest and everything.
Right.
That's where everybody would go. They get off the strip. Before McMullan's, it would always be Tommy Rockers.
Mm-hmm.
And then McMullan's kind of expanded it. And then it kind of moved, in our direction, southwest.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about that last night too, right? So some of the traditional Irish acts and people that played at the pubs through the years and where they're at in St. Patrick's Day. So
yep.
That's pretty crazy. We're recording this on Wednesday. The first full weekend of March Madness was last weekend, Thursday through Sunday. We saw a lot of people coming through town through the turnstiles at the airport. We're now down to the Sweet 16 in the women's and the men's brackets. So
what's the biggest upset so far?
Probably Florida. Florida was
Iowa?
Don't ask me that right now. Florida was the number one seed. The three of the other number one seeds are still in it, but Florida was arguably, could have been on, all the way to the dance.
Yeah.
But upset.
I always think it's funny every year. The first article I always see is everybody's brackets are blown. Yeah. Every year it says that.
I'm sorry that I did not research the final 16 or the Sweet 16, for the women's.
We've been busy.
But on the men's, yes. Texas, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, Arizona, Illinois, Houston, St. John's, Duke, Alabama, Michigan, Michigan State, Tennessee, UConn, Iowa State is what's left.
I know that
I'm more of a sports guy than you are per se. What I would like to see, I think the Cinderella story of number 5 St. John's with Rick Pitino, going back to St. John's back in the day in the Big East with legendary coach Louis Carnesecca.
I have no idea who that is.
Exactly. That's why I'm just going to riff.
Was he the one from Hoosiers?
No. That was Coach Norman Dale, played by Gene Hackman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about the extent of my knowledge when it comes to
You're going to run the picket fence.
Yeah.
Louis Carnesecca back in the day had Chris Mullen and the St. John's teams of the 80s that were just legendary in college basketball folklore.
Every time I hear somebody with the name Mullins, I'm like, they're obviously Irish heritage and they just forgot the Mick part.
Yeah. So Chris Mullen was the white boy from New York City that could play back in the day. But Carnesecca only passed away a couple of years ago. He was 99.
Wow.
So, but you have other teams. I mean, you got Tom Izzo at Michigan State. He's been around for a while, and I don't think he's going to be around a lot longer if he can kind of muster it together. Again, like you said, you have Pitino with St. John's.
I'm rooting for the Huskies.
These aren't favorites per se. Iowa State's a Big 12 school, so KU got knocked out last weekend, which was obviously I'm always pulling for KU, but I didn't really expect them to leave the weekend.
Who'd you play for?
Who did I play for? I played for Fort Scott and Pitt State, like Jayhawk and Division Two.
You never made it to the.
I've said this 100,000 times. NBA guys move just at a different speed.
Well, you did state in your high school though, right? You won the championship, right?
No, but we went 3 out of 4 years and we lost twice in the state championship. Yeah,
that's still quite the accomplishment. If you look at like the numbers of like the amount of high school players, then college players, then NBA players, to actually make it all the way to the state level is quite the accomplishment. But anyway,
then what I was going to say too is like Fred Hoiberg, who was the coach of Nebraska. Fred back in the day played at Iowa State, and he is your quintessential Hoosier, like looking like white boy in Middle America.
Yeah.
Taking Nebraska the furthest they've ever advanced in the NCAA brackets. So historically, Nebraska more of a football school. I wouldn't say they're necessarily a basketball school now, but they're making some inroads. So on that, as we talk more sports, the NBA governors today in New York City decided that they are going to grant a license to Las Vegas to have a team here.
Oh yeah,
starting in.
Is it actually official?
It will be official, I think, later this week, but they should be playing in an arena by 2028.
Oh, nice. I wonder where that is. Has that arena been announced yet, or is
that arena has not been announced? I would imagine that they would probably start at T-Mobile until they build out.
There's probably three casinos that are going to vie for that. Like I'm sure.
Yeah, they've always talked about the North Strip down there by Fontainebleau and Resorts World. They've talked about Rio. They
got that plot of land Siegel bought.
Yeah, and then they've talked about with the Bright Line build out if they do that like that next city center project.
Yeah,
building something down there. So with that, I kind of did some research and potential names for an expansion team for Las Vegas. Have any guesses?
Somebody put something the other day, like a name like the Vegas Scumbags or something like that.
That one did not make the list.
I was like, that's stupid.
Leading, doing a little search on the GPTs. Leading names are Blackjacks, Jokers, Outlaws, Spades, Dust Devils, Neon, Sharks, Crown.
Those are all terrible. I think, you know what I think it should be? Because we're the Silver State. We have the Golden Knights. So we're actually the Silver State.
Yes.
So something along that line, like the Silver something.
Yeah.
Silver Sevens. Or,
how about the Silver Studs?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Silver Sevens.
It's a cross-branding experience with the Bravo Network, and they can have all the dudes be like housewives.
Silver Sevens. I'd go silver something. Silver.
Isn't that the casino over on Flamingo?
Silver Sevens, yeah. Yeah, but...
I would imagine just like the A's are having issues with their naming convention and the trademarking that they have to be careful because like obviously the Aces is already taken with the WNBA team.
Yeah, and would they have the Silver Knights, which is the
right.
So that probably
the more crazy thing is a team that doesn't even exist yet, and whoever I don't know who the ownership group is going to pursue it the heaviest. They already put a valuation on this team that is conceptually nothing, $10 billion.
That's ridiculous.
$10 billion.
What were the Seahawks valued at? They're up for sale right now, right?
7 or 8, I believe.
Only 7 or
well, and when Jeannie Buss sold the Lakers last year,
yeah,
a historical team in the NBA that's existed for 60 plus years sold for $10 billion. A team of nothing, no fan base, no arena, no Kellers, no name, is already $10 billion.
$10 billion. That's just people trying to like cash in. That's all.
Of course. So, in continued news in sports, Mr. Benjamin,
my favorite.
Yes. Note the sarcasm. Today they just announced that the NFL ownerships in their meetings next week will announce that once again that Las Vegas will host a Super Bowl in 2029.
Oh well, that I saw coming a mile away.
Yeah. So
the event was huge here.
That'll be a 5-year flip from when the Super Bowl was here in 2024, to again at 2029 with the hospitality that was extended to all the fan base that came for the first Super Bowl in Las Vegas history.
Interesting. That
was announced today. And then also talking kind of about Allegiant Arena this last weekend, country artist Luke Combs played.
Luke Combs. The largest attendance in history
of Allegiant Stadium.
For that stadium, yeah. 70,000 something.
70,000 something. And then when you looked at the setup, he was actually in a...
What'd I say? Wow, 70,000 people that all like crappy music. That's great.
I thought it was Luke Brush.
Have you ever seen that video about the red pill or the blue pill? If you ask people to take the red pill would like kill everybody and the blue pill would let everybody succeed, more people would choose to take the red pill.
Really?
Because they think they're going to have an advantage somehow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
So, anyway.
I was driving over here and I noticed there was a little fender bender and one of the cars did not have a license plate on it. And you were kind of then telling me.
Yeah, it's something I just thought about the other day. Like, I was at a stoplight, and here in Nevada, it's a real problem. The insurance is super expensive here. Although every stadium out there, for some reason, has their name on like a sports stadium, and they could cut costs that way. And every commercial you'll see is insurance. They could cut costs that way because we're required to have it. So it's so expensive now because of all these stupid rules and laws that the three people right in front of me, none of them had plates.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, why can't they fix this problem? You know, Governor Lombardo is running for re-election again, and you know he's out there promoting his new children's hospital, and I'm like, which is great. You know, you got to take care of the kids, you know, but better make sure you have insurance first because, as we well know. But yeah, I mean, like, just can't we fix this problem here in Nevada? It's just absolutely ridiculous. There's ways to do it. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to make this like political, but. You know, it's very simple. They can actually do it, but I guess we got to just take those hit and runs, right?
Pun intended?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to hit and run.
No, nor do I.
I want to bump and scoot. Wrapping this episode up, episode 37. Again, we're calling this one analog or a stick in the butt, or if you pronounce it incorrectly,
go ahead.
You do the math. But no, subtleties I've noticed in my life in the last couple of weeks is the meaningfulness of analog coming back around. And, you know, Savannah and I were watching an episode of The Pit recently, and this particular season, you watched The Pit too, right? Yeah. And the episode is, well, the whole day is July 4th, right? And then apparently there's a cyber attack happening at other hospitals in the Pittsburgh area. Yeah. So they have to go, quote unquote, analog. Yeah. So back to like 80s or 90s technology where they use charts and they have to use a fax machine. Yeah. And you have all these young interns and everything like sitting there with the dirt. Like, looking how did you people do this before? Yeah. You know what? It boggles my mind to think about like what kind of things that would not, this generation, the last couple of generations would not be able to handle it if everything went down. Yeah. You know, because they're not used to being, you know. But that was the first in the series of events that I've just kind of like perceived that come in front of my eyes. Mm-hmm. And then I saw recently that vinyl, it got so big again in 2025 that was the first time vinyl had more than $1 billion in sales since 1983.
Sold more media than like CDs, tapes, whatever. It's all gone now. Everything,
yeah. So like that's kind of a tick in the retro thing.
It's just trendy and cool though. It's really, you know, I'm so sick of people saying that like analog sounds better. It absolutely does not. I mean, I know I'm going to catch shade for that, but digital holds so much more information. You can make so much better sound.
Shout out to Sean Quinn and his hangover and Jamie Dornan on the next SNL Brit UK next week and 50 Shades of Darren DB.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about SNL UK.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. We could talk about that in a second. Yeah, but also then with all the craziness in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz and you know, Iran basically utilizing 100-year-old technology of putting mines in the Strait of Hormuz that are like blocking these ships because of the being basically afraid to
analog, baby,
blow them up. Yeah. And then ironically, the U.S. Navy decommissioned the Avenger class boats, the minesweeping boats, just late last year.
Did they decommission them?
They decommissioned them. They're all sitting on docks back in the East Coast.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
So these ships were utilized to stop mines because of the wood holes. Okay. Yeah. So the 4 ships that they had that would do this, that they decommissioned because they said it was too much to have maintenance on them and maintain them, and they would have to put them on larger ships. They're all sitting back, dry docked somewhere on the East Coast, while basically we're literally gridlocked with a 20-mile wide stretch of water.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting. Like, not that I want to get into this right now, but you know, the stance is that, you know, for them is like, okay, we've got these drones that cost $30,000 in these mines, these old technologies. We're just going to use that. And the amount of money that we're going to have to pay to prevent this is going to bankrupt us eventually. So like you're using $30,000 drones and we're using $2 million missiles to shoot a 30,000 drone out.
Yeah.
And like the math doesn't math. So, economics is going to get us in the end. So hopefully we can be able to figure this thing out before it gets worse because I like beer and I like doing what I like doing. And this thing's going to get a whole lot more expensive if this thing keeps going on for too much longer.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you were just commenting. I don't know what gas is where you guys live, but you said you saw driving back to the house today that
$5.20.
Whew, doggy.
Yeah, and I think that's the cash price. I think it's 30 cents more or 10 cents more for credit.
Gotcha. But so going back to analog, so talking about like hearing in the pit, talking about the Strait of Hormuz with ships that have been decommissioned. I'm a big believer in Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's kind of a media magnet, and he talked about how Gen Alpha is becoming very analog, if you will, that like the things kind of we talk about in the third space and the pubs and this and that, like, you know, like they don't want cell phones and they want to play board games and they want to read books. They don't want to read books on Kindles. They
it's getting fairly popular again. Like I know I've seen kids talking about not, it's cool not to have Facebook or Instagram or, so Discord even now.
Gen Alpha is still the most digital generation ever, but that's exactly why analog is creeping back in, not as a full rejection of tech, but as a way to feel calmer, more present and a little more human.
There's a reason, like me personally, like I've never posted images of my children online.
Yes. Because
it's kind of like, I don't want it to be, I think I maybe posted a couple, but I've always wanted it to be their decision to embark on that digital space, like where I'm all over the place, the podcasts and whatnot.
Much like this one today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, every day. But, I've always wanted that to be their thing rather than, putting it out there for them, making it so they can do it themselves. If they choose to, if they choose not to, then fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier in the episode that we reached out to Mr. Taffer. If you like the basketball poster I used to have on my wall said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we'll see what happens there. But we've started communicating with others to have as guests on the show because I think you guys like the metrics of that. We really want to get out and do more bartender, stories and more confessionals and stuff like that. So yeah, and it doesn't just have to be the grossest thing or the weirdest thing, and just it's a dialogue, it's a communication, it's a conversation over a libation. I think what you and I should probably be doing in the future, and like let us know what you think. I think every week we should be posting a series of questions on our Facebook group. Yep. And you guys let us know what you think, and we'll bring it up. We'll start talking about what you guys want to talk about. And we are questions@vegasdaydrinkers.com. So I check that like once or twice a week. If you guys have any ideas, there was a comment from, I think I want to say her name was Cece on TikTok that said she very much enjoyed the show, that we're very two good personalities. But sometimes, speak for yourself, Chris. But sometimes we should show a little more enthusiasm. So jumping jacks, perhaps? Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's one of the things. I'm going to reach out to a couple vendors, and I think there might be a segment in the future where we make the cocktails. We just don't crack the can. I think I need to probably hydrate a little bit more after last night. That might give me a little more energy too, because I think I'm like a shriveled up piece of beef jerky right now, especially because all the heat out there. This podcast brought to you by electrolytes. We're going to wrap this one up. Sip, Socialize, Shine. Hit us on socials. We're growing. I'm going to start working on an email list and communicating. Yesterday was kind of with the pub crawl and North Star of what we want to do. Maybe not necessarily the budget that Jameson has. No, of course. But, we don't have to take our clothes off to have a good time. Coming soon to a pub near you. Thank you for watching Sip, Socialize, Shine.